Welcome to the Home Team Sacramento podcast. I'm Josh Takimoto, and with me today is Vance Charvo and Troy Spivey, also known and maybe better known these days as the Charity Golf Guys. What's going on, guys?
Hey Josh, how's it going?
Appreciate
Good,
you
man.
having us on here. We're excited to talk about kind of what we do and just see what you got asking for us.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to have you guys on. So, Troy, if people haven't heard any of the, it feels like 500 podcasts that I've started. Troy, you've been on my podcast. You and your brother Zach have been on my podcast a few times. The Spivey special podcast. So we've done this a few times. Vance, man, this is the first time you and I have been on a podcast. Believe it or not,
Yeah,
you're
first time.
actually on a list of people that I wanted, especially for this podcast, because I know you're a coach, also a business owner, the owner of Mr. Pickles. And then obviously now the Charity Golf Guys. So a lot of roads we could have gone down. But then before I got a chance to ask you guys on, Troy reached out and said, "Hey, let's talk." I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. You guys are on my list, so you guys made it easy for me. You reached out instead of me having to reach out to you guys." So, um, and Vance, man, you were, if people weren't familiar with Character Combine, you and your pops Don were huge for us the last, I think, what, 3 years, 4 years, at least three
Yeah,
years.
yeah, we it was 3 years. That was a fun event, man. We were out there slinging sandwiches for all those kids, and kind of got us started in the mobile food industry. So it was a good time out there.
Well, hey man, we loved having you guys there, and I'll tell you this. So Shireen, who was kind of the director of the whole thing on the day of the event and all that, like she ran that thing like a well-oiled machine, and she was very particular about who she brought in and who she would. We had vendors in previous years that didn't work out. Dos Coyotes. I mean, some of these other places, the food's good, but it wasn't great working with them. And then when I mentioned your name that first year you worked with us, afterwards she's like, "Oh, we're gonna have them back every time." And so I think it speaks to what you guys do as a business and how you guys operate, because coming from her specifically, that's like the highest praise you can get. And when she has you
Well, I
back 3 years
appreciate
in a
it.
row, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not joking, man. I'm not just saying that because you're on the podcast. Like anybody who knows her knows, like if she's having you guys out for 3 years in a row, that must mean you guys do good business. So, um, man, I'm just, like I said, I'm just happy to have you guys on here and talk more about your business. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about your guys' athletic and coaching background, because I know you guys both played at BV and then you guys both coach. But I want to hear it from you guys. Tell me a little bit about the athletic and coaching background.
Yeah, Troy, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, looking at us, I don't think you could say either of us are athletes anymore. That's for sure. We graduated some time ago. In high school, I played a little bit of basketball. I was tall as I am now in sixth grade, so I was the center on the freshman team, and then I stopped growing, and I had center skills at 5'9". So that ended real quick. I ended up just playing baseball the remaining of my high school career. Graduated high school, and the very next year started coaching baseball at Bella Vista. Coached baseball, I believe, for about 6 years. Head coach of the freshmen, head coach of the JV, kind of bounced back and forth for all the kids around. So right there, that's about as far as we go now. At my ripe old age of 34, just had a birthday. All we do is golf occasionally, and we're really good at that. We need to find some coaches for that, but we'll kind of talk about that more as we get going.
Yeah, for sure.
And with me, kind of a similar situation. I played football. That was my main sport. I played a little bit of baseball and wrestled early on in high school, up until sophomore year, and then I decided to focus on football. Um, I was kind of like Troy. I was not a big, tall, athletic guy. I was just a grinder, a hard nosed guy. I played D line. I was in the trenches a lot. I just loved football. I was playing it ever since I was 8 years old. I played for the Junior Huskies in Orangeville. Ended up going to Bella Vista and played all 4 years there. And then right after I finished playing, my coach, Coach Grush, he asked me if I wanted to come back and help out with the freshman staff. So I stayed on and helped out there, and I learned from a few great coaches, um, before me. Coached some freshman football, JV football, coached varsity football for a year, and then ended up back at the freshman level as the head coach over there at Bella Vista for 5 years. And I was there under a couple different head coaches, Coach Grush, and then there was Matt Polston, and then Tom Ingles. And then when they finally got the new coach in, things didn't work out. And I actually ended up across town over at Casa Roble. So, and I've spent my last 8 years over there at Casa as the head freshman coach under Coach Horner. and just enjoyed my time over there. Had some great seasons. It's been an awesome experience. I was, really welcomed over there at Casa for being a crosstown rival coach. But they really took me in, and I loved working with Coach Horner over there, and he's a great guy, and I have nothing but great things to say about him. So it's been an awesome experience to get to know, hundreds, if not thousands, of kids over these years, and help them, with the game that I love. I grew up playing, and I'm passionate for it. So it's been a blast. So definitely some coaching experience. I wish I could have played at the second level, but it never really worked out. Just ended up high school. It was good enough for me, and coaching has been a passion of mine for the last 16 years. So that's been awesome.
That's awesome. I'll say this too, man. If someone's listening to this and they've never felt welcomed by Coach Horner, then there's probably something messed up with you. Like if you don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that dude that just loves people so much. He's been a guest on the show a little ways back, but he's just an awesome dude. I didn't play for him, but I saw him walking around Casa's campus all the time. And even now when I go back there and visit or go meet with him, he's like the mayor of that freaking place. Like he just walks around.
He really is. Yeah. And
It's
I know
amazing.
you've come out a couple times and talked to a couple different of the sports teams, and shared some of your knowledge. And but yeah, Coach Horner just he does everything for the kids, man. And whether it's setting up motivational speakers, or going above and beyond and doing food drives, and the whole thing he did with the Paradise Fire a few years ago. I mean, he just loves the community, he loves the kids, and he's such a great guy.
Absolutely. Now, I have to ask this question because you guys both this is kind of something you guys both did with your coaching careers before we jump into your business, but you guys both were young coaches. You guys went back to coach fairly young. Now, I'm always fascinated by this idea of going back when you're a young coach, because sometimes guys I've talked to, they have a tough time going back too soon, especially if they play at the next level. Like I've talked to some D1 guys. They're like, man, I went back and I thought this would be a great idea, and I wanted to rip the kids' heads off because there's all that raw passion. They're like, man, like they just don't get it. And it's like, yeah, but you're coming from a high level of whatever sport you're playing and then kind of bringing it back down to a different level. So what was that experience like for you guys when you guys had to go back? You didn't have to go back, but you went back to coach at such a young age, where there was still that, I'm sure, that competitive fire that was still in you. Was that a difficult transition, or did you guys handle that pretty well?
I think for me, I mean, it made me more relatable, right?
Sure.
And actually, so in my experience, I had one of those coaches, it must have been my senior year, who had played 4 years, I think, at Sac State, and ended up coming back and helping out. And he was still younger. I was 17 years old, and he was 21, maybe 22. And it was relatable. So we actually had something in common, where I didn't have anything in common with the 56-year-old defensive coordinator, and that's
Yeah.
just what it was, and
Yeah.
he was my D coordinator. He was the guy in charge, but I had more in common with my defensive line coach because he was closer to my age and he kind of understood. So I know for me, when I started coaching, I was able to relate to the kids, still being a little bit of a gap because I was just graduated and these were freshman kids. I wasn't coaching, the varsity kids right away. And I realized that I had to tone it down a little bit, knowing that I was a freshman at one time too, and some of the stuff that we did at the freshman level was kind of teach them how to put their socks on right, tie their shoes and do everything from the basics, because you have to make sure you got those fundamentals right. So it was hard, but I think that was what I loved about it. It was the competitive nature. I could still be competitive. I was the type of coach that would run up and down the sidelines. If our kid got a pick six at the 20-yard lines, I probably beat him to the end zone, which is not saying much for
Whoa,
a kid.
let's not go too crazy here.
But I definitely still had that competitive juice. I didn't have to lose that in order to coach, right out of high school. And I think the kids respected it. I think they enjoyed it. I was right there with them, screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering and getting them amped up for the game. And they're like, "Coach, you're not even playing."
Yeah.
So I feel like they enjoyed that, and they respected that. So it actually made my coach easier.
Sure.
I felt relatable.
Yeah.
So similar to what Vance was saying, is like I always got along. Football and baseball are obviously a little bit different of a game of bigger teams, smaller teams. I was the same way. The younger coaches I felt more relatable to. When I did coach my first year after graduating, at the same school where I graduated, I'm coaching at the JV level, where there's some brothers of people that I played with. So they knew me already. So that kind of distancing yourself there was a little hard at first, is what I felt. But I think it, like Vance said, I just came out of the program, you know what I mean? So I know what to expect. I know what they're going to expect up on that varsity level, what's going to fly and what's not going to fly. And we kind of taught those kids at the JV level what they needed to know at the varsity level. So as a young coach, when I got my the second year I coached, so I'm 20 years old as a head coach. I mean, I think pretty similar to Vance, you know, I'm coaching 14-year-olds, 6 years younger than me. And then it took a little bit of time to realize, you know what, I'm the one in charge. I'm the one, you know, making the decisions. So definitely coaching was hard for me at first. And then when I got a little bit more comfortable, I had a guy with me, Ryan Cook. I'm sure
Yeah.
you know Ryan Cook, but
Yeah.
he was my assistant. He had coached right after he graduated, so he had a year under him. So, and then we had, like Vance said, we had the 56-year-old that would tell stories about how the Berlin Wall fell or whatever, that kind of stuff. And then we had to be like, you know, it's kind of like MySpace top 5 or whatever. So like he said, you could relate to the kids a little bit more.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think that's a cool aspect of coaching at a younger age. Like you do have that relatability and they do feel more comfortable when they're around you. And I think if the younger coaches understand that and they understand that idea, like, hey, like you said, Vance, I don't have to lose the competitiveness. In fact, if you're going to do a disservice to the kids, if you lose that, you got to keep that fire,
Definitely. Yeah.
but
Got to keep that.
keep it in check. And like you said, you also understood, you guys both understood that, okay, I'm dealing with young kids. It's like when we all have kids, right? It's like when you become a parent, it's like, I'm not dealing with a grown adult here, yet they're throwing a temper tantrum or they're losing their mind, like, you know, and it's like, okay, I have to remember I'm 34. My kids are 3.5 and 1.5. It's a huge gap there, you know, kind of the same thing. Sometimes young athletes act like a 3.5 or 1.5-year-old, depending on who you're coaching too. We've come across a couple of
That
those.
is definitely true. We've come across some of those.
Well,
Man, it's a weird
I
thing.
think not only that too, as a young coach dealing with some of the parents, I think at first was a little bit difficult, but you know, the more seasoned you get with dealing with, you know, expectations, just putting that out in the front early on coaching, be like, hey, listen, you're probably not going to play that much. You know what I mean? We've got 18 guys on the roster, or whatever it is. We got 9 slots, you know, and then just kind of breaking it down there, and then making cuts was interesting as a young coach. And it just, everything you learned real quick. And it's just kind of something you had to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's interesting. Well, and that's, you know, kind of to transition into your guys' business. All of these things, all of these pieces of knowledge, all this insight you guys have as coaches, all the pressure that comes with coaching, the stresses that come with coaching, you know, how it adds another layer of, um, you know, things that you have to deal with, right? Like you guys both have families, jobs, all these things that you have to deal with. And then on top of that, you take on the coaching thing, right? And then on top of that, it's not like you're just doing the X's and O's, right? You have to do things like fundraising. You have to do things like all these other business like things that help your program run. And so I imagine that some of that insight and knowledge is what led you guys to starting this charity golf guys tournament or business. But like, tell me a little bit, like, how did it start, and how has that, your knowledge as coaches and understanding that side of the world, helped you with this business too?
Vance, go for it, big man.
Well, so we started this business. It's been recently started, but we've been running golf tournaments for 11 years. And it started more, I wouldn't say it started because of coaching. That's obviously helped.
Sure.
But it started because of the Crystal Rodriguez Memorial Scholarship Foundation.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of where it all started back when, Crystal passed away. And we came together as friends and family and started this foundation. We needed a fundraiser, right? And I think what happened was Troy and I took over that role of running the golf tournament because we were in sports, because we were in leadership roles, in our community, coaching and things like that. We felt comfortable with putting people in place and kind of, helping out where need be. But that's kind of where it started. I wouldn't say it started because of coaching, but I think that our assets and skills that we developed from coaching have helped us run this golf tournament into what it was. And then that golf tournament kind of blossomed into what is known now as our business as the Charity Golf Guys. We just found a love for golf, and being able to put on these tournaments and have people enjoy it, and play games and interact with the community, get the kids out there, and raise money for a good cause. That's kind of what started it all. But like I said, I think the coaching aspect of it really helped us nail down our roles, and being able to take over, the whole thing. It was kind of like Troy just said with the first year of coaching. We didn't know what to do, right? He was unsure of a lot of things, and that's how it was in our first year of the golf tournament. We weren't sure, but we created a plan over the next 11 years, that is now what we use as a staple for our business, and that we provide to our customers and our clients, to run their golf tournaments. So we've taken stuff like a coach would, right, and learned over the years what worked and what didn't work, and we put it down on paper. And now we have a pretty unique system in order to do things. So I think it was almost like a game plan, in a sports analogy.
It's one of those things. You've been doing something for almost a decade. The first year, like Vance was saying, when we ran our tournament, I'm not gonna, color it one way or the other. It wasn't very good. We had 34 golfers the first time out, and we realized, after a decade of doing it, how difficult it is to start up a golf tournament from scratch if you don't know exactly what you're doing, if you don't give yourself the proper amount of time to run your tournament. We thought that first year that we could run a tournament in a month and a half to 2 months. It takes about 6 months to run a golf tournament properly, with all the different things that you have to do, from sponsors, from getting the course, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many things that go into a golf tournament. And one thing, like you're saying, with coaching and fundraising, we understand most coaches have full-time jobs, and then you have to go out to practice. And then let's say on the baseball side of things, you have to prep a field. Then you got to do practice. You got to put the field away. Then you have coaches meetings, all this. The last thing that you want to do at the end of the day is go out then and also work on a fundraiser. So that's kind of the kind of the way that we kind of focused our business plan. At first, we weren't sure exactly how we were going to get in there before we launched it. And then we've taken a few meetings, and we've kind of shaped it to where we say this all the time, we do a lot of the work, and that's what gets these fundraisers to be so great.
Yeah. And I'm glad you guys brought up the Crystal Rodriguez Memorial Golf Tournament, because it's crazy, because I knew who Crystal was. I didn't know her personally, but obviously we went to the same school. And we had Victor on the Character Combine podcast, and that's still up. So I would encourage anybody who's listening to this, if you don't know the story, go back to that episode, because Victor shares the whole thing. And it's really moving what he shares. So I would definitely go back and listen to that. But it is crazy, because I know you guys are involved heavily in that. But when you said 11 years, man, that's crazy. Like, it doesn't feel like you guys have been doing it that long, but that makes sense that was like the genesis of this whole charity golf guys thing. Because like in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, they just started this business, but you guys have been doing this for a long time, like you said. So that's crazy. And I imagine that's something that's got to be like a highlight for you guys when you guys are approaching new clients and they're like, hey, how long have you guys been doing this? We've been doing this for a decade. And so that's got to instill a lot of trust in them when you guys have these conversations, I would imagine.
It's funny because we have been doing it for a long time. But still, when you meet new people and you take on new clients, there's still some hesitation, right?
Yeah.
They're not sure, they're unsure. Maybe they don't know us. They're not sure what we've done. So there still is some hesitation to, jump right on board and say, hey, yeah, let's do it. But just like with anything, communication and working through things and, showing them what we can do, that's eventually what leads them to, kind of hop on board and ultimately let us make some money for them, and like what Troy said, let them worry about the coaching side of it. Don't worry about the fundraising. Let us do this for you. We'll take care of it. We'll give you a big check at the end, and you go coach, do the thing that you love to do. I know you don't love, trying to get money from local businesses. They may love playing golf and they may love, being out there with the kids, but they probably don't love planning it like we do. Right. So that's one of the things that we've been able to do is we want to help everybody. We want them to go do what they love, and we'll do the stuff behind the scenes and run this tournament. And it's not just for us. We're doing it for the for the organization. We're going to make you some money.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's kind of why we started the business. You know, we've been talking about it for a couple of years now. Running the golf tournament for Crystal Rodriguez Memorial Scholarship is one of our favorite things to do. Vance and
Yeah,
I
it's
are
never.
texting all day. We're making phone calls, et cetera, et cetera. We wouldn't still be doing it on that side of things with the nonprofit if we didn't love to do it. Because, you know, that's obviously a volunteer thing for us to be on a nonprofit, being directors there. So we found something that we love more than most people probably should, and that's charity golf tournaments. And we made a business out of it. I mean, anytime you can
Yeah.
get us out there, I mean, we're average golfers at best. I mean, you can ask Vance. Yesterday, he got a little backside whooping, but
There you
uh,
go.
it's something that we love, and we wanted to just share the knowledge that we've gained over the past 10, coming up on 11 years, October 1st, 2022, depending when this podcast actually goes live. Is going to be our 11th annual Crystal Rodriguez Memorial Scholarship Tournament out there at Lincoln Hills, 9 a.m. shotgun start. And we're so excited every year to go out there and take on this golf tournament.
So I'm just looking at the calendar. So this will come out next Thursday morning, like 5 a.m. So that's the 22nd. So when they hear this right now, is there still time to sign up for that tournament, or are you guys booked?
Always time to sign up. If
Always.
somebody's interested, have them reach out to us. Yeah, we'll make it work. We're not going to turn anybody down. So
There we go.
always time to raise some money for a good cause.
Perfect. Then if you guys are listening, pause the podcast, go sign up, contact these guys, then come back and finish listening to this, because it's a huge thing. I love all the stuff that you guys do. I've played in the softball. We've participated in a softball tournament. We got smoked every year. It's such a shame. It's such a shameful showing.
Was that the indoor? Was that the indoor tournament or the outdoor tournament?
No, we did 2 outdoor tournaments. Both were. I did one
Gotcha.
with I did one just a men's tournament. And see, the problem with these things, I don't want to get off track too much, but the problem with some of these like adult men's leagues is some of these dudes that you don't know, like when you're scrambling to find people, it's like, okay, I need like 2 more guys. These dudes,
I can play.
I think we played against you,
No,
crushed us.
that's what
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying. That's what they tell you.
Well, one dude,
I used to play shortstop.
yeah, sure he did. He's like one guy's like, hey, so what are the home run rules? Like home run. I'm like, oh, we have a banger on our team. He didn't even hit out of the infield. Like, man, I was expecting,
what are you asking for, man?
I know, like we don't have Juan Soto here. You know what I mean? What are we doing? It was
He just wanted
shameful.
to know for the other teams, not for him.
How many bombs can I give up? It's like, don't worry about
Yeah.
it. But no, from the softball tournament to the I've never been to the golf tournament, but I know a lot of people that participate and they just love it. And see, that's the cool thing. And I don't know if people really think about this, because like you said, one, a golf tournament is a big task, and it's probably intimidating for someone to even think about putting it on. But when you start thinking about all the positives, obviously financially, I know Casa makes a ton of money when they do their golf tournament, but then the other side too is it continues to build off of each tournament. So if you have tell me if I'm wrong, you guys are the pros. If you have a successful tournament one year, word spreads, and that next year is most likely going to get bigger. And then you have like repeat customers, but then you have people that want to get in on the next year, and it just keeps building. So it's not just like a one time, like, hey, we're going to make X amount of dollars every single year. There's a really great opportunity to make a ton of money and more money each and every year. Is that accurate? Am I seeing that correctly?
Yeah, definitely. The snowball effect is real.
Yeah.
I think Troy, we started the first tournament with, what was it, 33 golfers?
Yeah,
34
33 or
golfers.
34 golfers. Yeah, the first year.
In the last 3 years, we've had 144 golfers at each tournament.
Jeez.
So you're talking about, exponential growth there. And it's become a staple. People put it on their calendars,
Right.
That first weekend in October, and they're ready to go. We send out the flyer, and they're signed up within a couple of days because they enjoy it. And Troy and I, what we do is we try to make it as fun as possible for the golfers. We're not going to sit there and nickel and dime you on every hole. We're not going to make you pull out your wallet and donate more to the cause. Yeah, we appreciate anything that you can give, but we have a few different games that we play that are, fiscally driven. But other than that, we're there to have a good time. And at the end of the day, all of the things that we do will end up raising money, but we're not going to, nickel and dime everybody and try to steal everything. And I think that's one thing that, people really enjoy. They come to our tournament and they have a good time. So they end up coming back. It shows. We've been doing it for 11 years and we've been full, the last 4 or 5 years. So it really shows that the people enjoy what they're doing, what we're doing. And it's really, it's humbling to see because people love it so much.
And that's kind of what we were talking about how the first year of your golf tournament is so important. Most people, they go out there and they throw out a tournament like we did the first year and they give up. A lot of golf tournaments don't last longer than 3 to 5 years. And with the package and the way that we shape our golf tournament now, it's one of those things, it's a plug and play type of thing where it takes us a lot less time to run a tournament than it did the first year, is what,
Sure.
like we were talking about. We give the date out for our tournament. So on October 1st, when we're giving out our awards and all that, we're going to give the date for the following year, and people are going to go ahead and put that in their phone so they already know when it's going to be the next year, because that's how much we get asked when the golf tournament's going to be. We try to set at the same time. It's the first or second Saturday in October, and then people are ready to go. And it's one of those things, like Vance was saying, if you're going to give me $125 to $150, let's say, to play in a golf tournament, I want to give you $125 to $150 worth of fun and entertainment.
Yeah.
And also that money, you're still giving it to a nonprofit and to a charity or whatever, or to a sports team. But now it's almost worth it to where it doesn't even feel like you're actually giving that money out.
Right. Yeah. And I think that is a cool thing. It's interesting that you guys said that too, about this idea that people put in their calendars and people just know when it's coming up. Because like I told you guys earlier, I don't golf at all. But even before you guys post anything about it, like in my mind, I already know when the Crystal Rodriguez golf tournament is. Same with Cass. Like I know when Cass's golf tournament is going to be, like, roughly. And so it is a really good, easy marketing thing too. Like people just are hungry for it. Cause like you said, you guys do a good job and you guys make it a lot of fun. And it's something that people look forward to. So I think that's an awesome thing. Now let me ask you this: like, so for a sports team, if a sports team or coach is listening to this, you don't have to go into specifics, but like, obviously you do multiple types of fundraisers throughout the year. But like, how much will a golf tournament alone, if it's run properly, how much of I guess budget, or I guess how much of a fundraising boost will it give their program? Excuse me.
So what we like to do, right, is we want to get 100 golfers. That's our goal. If we can get 100 golfers, there's no doubt in my mind that we can make a program $8,000.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that's being modest. I'm not like, I'm not shooting my own horn or anything. We're not going to say that we're the greatest, but we know what we can do, and we have a blueprint to do it. And that's a lot of money for a program. Now we have to fill that, 100 golfer tournament, right? We're talking the Crystal one that we have is 144, and we make well beyond that. So, and it took us some time to get there, but we think that, with 100 golfers, we can go into a tournament and make a program around $8,000.
And
So,
the thing is, really, the risk really isn't there. You're going to be making profit just with golfers coming in, what you're going to charge the golfer. And that's another thing. A lot of people don't know what to charge a golf tournament. I don't, like, let's say it's the first time, I don't know what a normal golf tournament is. Vance and I play and look around at so many different golf tournaments. We could tell you exactly. There's a possibility we're going to be running one in Arizona, which is kind of wild, but we know
That's awesome.
we know all the prices at the golf courses there now. You know what I mean? And the Northern California is where we kind of lay our hat a little bit. So we have really good relationships with all the different tournament directors in the area. So we know exactly, you should make anywhere from, as Vance was saying, anywhere from about $75 to $150 per golfer, depending on our sponsors, depending on how many people we get there, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I like what you were saying too about the fact that you guys have been able to been able to build relationships with people too, because obviously this is called home team, and the whole concept and idea is that we're all competing against each other, whether it be a Friday night or on the baseball field or basketball court. We're all competing against each other. We want to win, but at the end of the day, if you're a coach or an athlete and your goal ultimately is to make the community better, to make your athletes better, their families better, then we're all a part of the same home team. Like we have the same common goal, even though we're trying to crush each other during the weekend games. But what you said, a big part of that is being part of this home team. You have relationships with people. And I imagine that's something that is a huge benefit for people that are like, okay, I want to do this golf tournament thing, but I have no connections to golf courses. I don't know anybody there. You guys do. And I will toot your horn for you guys, because even though I haven't been to one of your events, like I've seen what you guys have done through social media and all that. I've had conversations with Victor and Troy and Vance. You guys are good at what you do. So you guys don't have to do it. I'll do it for you. They're really good. And so um, reach out to them, because if you can make $8,000 for your program, that takes so much stress off of a season. You're not trying to sell. I mean, no disrespect to all these fundraisers, but like I'm sure a golf tournament is a lot more fun than sending your athletes out selling Rams cards, right? They're great. I bought one for my kid the other day, but still, like a golf tournament is gonna be a lot more fun for everybody involved, and it's builds a sense of community too.
Yeah, definitely. I think and some of those other fundraisers that the teams are doing around here, they take a lot of time as well, right? I mean, you got to get the kids. I know, like Snap Raise, you got to get the kids to get email addresses, and you got to get them in the classroom, and it takes a lot of time. And then I know what Horner does over there. I think at Cass's, he has like an incentive tier-based program where the more the kids get raised, then they get something for them, themselves off like a the prize sheet. So then he's got to worry about filling out the prize sheets, and he's got to order the product to get it in. So there's a lot of time. And what we do is we take that time away. Right now, obviously, we're going to need your contact list. Right, we need to reach out to your people in your organization, and we need a contact that we have that we're working with side by side in order to lead up to the tournament. And then on the day of, we usually ask for, like, especially with the sports ones, we ask for kids to come out, right? We're working on, obviously, the CRMFS one. We bring the Avid kids out. We're working on another one for a school in Roseville. We're going to have the football players come out and be there in their jerseys. So we obviously require some help, but what we say, we do about 80% of the work, and you guys do 20%, so there's not that whole thing that you have to do throughout the, 6 months. We do it all. We'll fill you in and kind of keep you going on it. And then on the day of is where we need the most help, that one, golf tournament day. But for the most part, we're taking on all the responsibility. We're finding sponsors, we're finding vendors, we're dealing with the golf course. We're setting everything up almost like a wedding planner would for a wedding, right? Yeah. I think that's kind of one of the analogies that we use a lot, is that we're kind of like a wedding planner. We want to set this great event up for you, use your input and be in communication through the whole process, and then hope, the day of goes smash. So that's kind of what we do. And that's what we strive to do, and get the kids involved and things like that.
And the one thing that we do like to hang our hat on a little bit is our creativity. That's more of my realm than Vance's. Vance just gets things done. I'm the guy who's just thinking around in his truck all day, like, oh, that's a really good idea. But like Vance was saying with the wedding thing, that we always say is no wedding's ever going to be the same.
Right.
So when we run a golf tournament, no golf tournament's ever going to be the same. Josh, let's say this is your sports team that's going to run this tournament, right? We want to gear it towards you and the people that are in your little community. We're not running it for me and Vance. You know what I mean? We're running it for you. So we always say that it's the sports team's tournament. We're just the two little minions behind the scene that's making sure all the little things that you don't really think about running, like with signs, with registration, with all these little things that you wouldn't think about that you need to have printed, you have to have absolutely perfect, and all the important running a golf tournament. A lot of people don't know this about a golf tournament, but like the number one thing that you want to have absolutely dialed in is registration. So that's one thing that we make sure we have down to a T, because when they show up and they're checking in, they know, wow, these guys have it. This is going to be a really good day. These guys know exactly what they're doing. Let's go spend some money and have some fun.
Oh, 100%. Well, it's the same. Yeah. The same thing with, like I mentioned, Character Combine earlier. Registration was something that Shireen always emphasized. She's like, this is the first stop they're making, so you got to make it a good one. And there was definitely certain people she wouldn't allow at the registration table, which I'm sure is the same for you guys. Good people just don't, they don't need to be the face of the event. You know what I mean? Like put them like somewhere like on hole like number 8. You know what I mean? Where they can't mess it up at that point. But yeah, and I imagine like, so, you obviously, like we said, you have multiple fundraisers throughout the year, but a golf tournament is the biggest one that a team could do most likely. And I imagine if that thing goes really well and you have your athletes involved, you have the coaches involved, you're people are wearing jerseys. It's all branded for your sports team. I imagine that will have a trickle down effect to other fundraisers you do. I imagine that people that go to, let's say, I don't know if Casa's football, they don't do a football tournament, do they? Or do
No, they do a poker tournament right now,
That's
but
what it
we're
is, a
working on
poker
that.
tournament. But I imagine they do a
We're
tournament
in
like
we're in
that.
Horner's ear.
Oh, I bet you are. Yeah. Well, that guy, he's like, I tell him every year, he's like the Pablo Escobar of selling fireworks. Like, I'm not even sure if what he's doing is legal. He just sells so many
I
freaking.
think I think I bought like $1,500 worth of fireworks last year, and I don't
And
know
you
what I
worked
was
at the
doing.
booth. You worked at the
He
And I
didn't
worked
booth.
at
even
the
bring
booth.
his wallet.
It's wild. So,
Gosh,
but that, like I said, that being said, if you take his poker tournament, or people go to that and then it's like such a success, then I imagine it makes them more likely to go to his firework booth, right? Or maybe more likely to buy the Ram card if they see a kid wearing the Rams jersey. And so I imagine that if you have a really good golf tournament, it can impact other things that you do. Maybe it's not even a fundraiser. Maybe it's just like, hey, we want to support that team because they run such a good event and they're doing it for such a good cause that, hey, we want to support what they're doing. So like there's a lot of, I mean, from my perspective, it seems like there's a ton of benefits to this, not just financially, but just the image of your program. If you have a program that runs a really tight tournament, I mean, that it just makes you look good. It's like, okay, these people know what they're doing.
Well, it's one of those things, it's kind of a trickle down effect. You know what
Yep.
I mean? So
Yep.
let's say you have a kid on the sports team, right? You're not going to have 100 to 144 parents, right, in your
Mm-hmm.
program for the most part, unless it's maybe a football program. So now I'm bringing 3 of my buddies to come out here to see what the program's all about. Or let's say it's a nonprofit or a charity or whatever you decide
Sure.
to run your golf tournament for. Now you're getting so many more eyes on this. And now let's say the 3 of us are in a group, we finish. A lot of the times, especially in our tournament, a group will come and play, and next year they have 2 groups because they had such a good time. Now they have 8 of their friends coming out to a tournament. So, like you said, the more eyes you can get on a program, the better it is.
Right. 100%. Well, it's fun too. Like I said, I've for Cass's baseball tournament, every time they post pictures of that tournament, I see, dudes that I played ball with, or, guys that were a couple years ahead or a couple years behind me. And so like it is this cool thing where it almost feels like once these guys are graduated and they always come back to play this tournament, I see the same guys come back every single year. And so even if we're like talking specifically about a sports program, it builds this camaraderie and this build up this tribe of your program. So it's not just something that, hey, I'm gonna play here 4 years and then I'm gone. Like, no, it's like you get to build a program that has a lasting effect and that goes beyond the 4 years that they're in school. They come back and it just continues to build up this legacy of the program. I think it's kind of a cool thing. And like I said, I mean, I really do feel like the golf tournament is the biggest one that I see. When people are doing these types of fundraisers and you see alumni come back, it's always the golf tournaments because it's something that they love to do already. Now they just get to do it with old buddies and their former school, which is a pretty cool thing. So, Vance, are you still coaching?
so actually, this is the first year in 16 years I'm not coaching.
Dang. Okay.
So yeah, my wife and I just had our second baby about eight
Congrats.
months ago. Thanks, man. So
Awesome.
yeah, I told Horner at the beginning of last year that I was probably going to call it quits after last season. But that doesn't mean I'm not there. I've gone to every single game. I've been to all of them except tonight. Obviously, couldn't make it tonight, but
Yeah.
I've been to every game. I went to the poker tournament. I go sit up in the booth and run the scoreboard. It's been a little interesting not being involved at the level I have been for the last 16 years. But it's been fun. I've been able to spend a little bit more time with the family. I've really been trying to focus on our business, right? I mean, we're doing something that we love, and I felt like I needed to commit. I'm obviously still doing the Mr. Pickles thing, but I'm spending a lot of time on this, and it's something that I believe in, and I think that we have a good shot of being a great business and helping a lot of people. So I've really kind of focused on some of the things that I want to take more priority in my life right now.
Got it.
And that's not to say that I don't miss football, but it's been an interesting journey trying to kind of navigate everything. I feel like for a long time I did everything, and now I have to kind of ease back because I got to focus on things that are more important at the time. My family being one of them. Just trying to be here with my 2 amazing daughters, as they grow up and start getting into the sports in their own, in their own minds. My daughter is 5 and she's starting to play soccer, and she wants to do gym and all this stuff. So it's kind of an interesting transition. One of those things that when I was coaching, I never had kids, right? Up until the last 5 years, I coached for 11 years and I didn't have a kid in the program. It wasn't like I was coaching because, my son was going to be there. I just coached because I loved to coach. I enjoyed it. And over the last few years, my daughter started to get older. It just kind of changed in my head. I've got kids now that are obviously taking a forefront to some of the kids that I may have been coaching before. It's kind of been an interesting thought in my mind. And I definitely miss football. Miss it being out there on Thursday nights, Friday nights with the guys and the camaraderie of it. But I do enjoy the time that I've been able to have with my family, and focus on starting this new business.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for both of you guys, do you think you'll go back to coaching at some point?
Definitely for me. I don't know if I don't know. It might be next year, but
week 4.
Yeah.
We're only on
Week
week
4.
3, so week 4 he'll be back.
Just see
Yeah,
Vance going down from the booth onto the field.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, middle of the game. Yeah.
I'm like, corner, don't call that play. Come on, let me do it. So, no, I'll be back.
Okay. What about you, Troy?
It's one of those things, like down the road, I could definitely see myself. I got a little one at home too. Yeah. He's 3, so not quite into sports yet. Like Vance was saying, we both have jobs right now, and we're looking to make this business be our full-time job, to have a little more, flexibility, to be around the family more and do something that we absolutely love. I mean, who wouldn't want to golf 3-4 times a week and then run tournaments on the weekend and build those relationships that we've already started building with the different vendors and the different golf courses that we've already built relationships with. The more that we can build, or taking clients out to golf during the week or that kind of same. So we're just looking to take that next step to eventually be our full-time job for both of us. So right now we're putting in the work, as much as we can, and we're having a really good time doing it.
I love it, man. That's awesome. Especially, when you can find something that you love and you can make money doing it, like there's nothing better than that. Hopefully one day with this podcast that'll happen. Not yet. Just doing it for the love of the game right now. I'm okay with that. Plus it gives my wife a break from me for like an hour and a half. So I don't know if you guys mentioned this, but obviously, you talked about programs. If we're talking about coaches, athletes, and anybody who runs the program. It takes up a lot of time. But then on the other side of that too is, if they decided to take on a golf tournament, by connecting with you guys and hiring you guys, they can avoid some massive, because I can't even imagine what it would be like to put all that time, all that effort into putting on a golf tournament and then having it be a massive flop, when they could just call you guys and you guys could help them avoid all of that and make sure it's like a guaranteed success. You know what I'm saying? Because that would just be a horrible feeling to put in months and months and months of effort and then just to have it flop.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a 6-month commitment. We like to book our golf course and our date anywhere from 6 to 7 months in advance. And then those next 2 months are just going hard, trying to get sponsors and vendors, and we don't even really start registration till 3 to 4 months before the tournament. So there's so much work that goes behind the scenes from that 4 to 6 month range that people don't really think about or really even know. A lot of people kind of wait and push it off and then think they can do it at the last minute.
I think one of the things that we've seen, because we have seen some tournaments that were flops, that's part of it. One of the things that we see in those types of tournaments is somebody says, "Oh, I want to put on a golf fundraiser or a golf tournament for my program," because they have, the reach to people, right? They know, "Oh, I know people that will golf." That's the biggest thing that we hear. Like, "Oh, I could fill up a tournament, no problem."
Sure.
It's pretty tough to fill up a tournament, but everybody knows a golfer, and that golfer knows 3 other golfers. So sure. That's like one of the easier parts, but it's still tough. But so they go, "Oh, I can fill up a tournament," but once you fill the tournament, what's going on at your tournament? What is, Are they going out there? Are they having a good time? Or are you even raising any money? So these are the things that we do and that we ask, the questions that we've asked in the past is, what are they doing at the tournament? Are they engaged? Is there prizes? Is there raffles? Is there auctions? Is there contests? Is there, things that get the people excited about it? And if not, then that's going to be a flop, right? You may have had 65 or 80 golfers out there, and yeah, you made a little bit of money on the golf
Entry
entry
fee.
fee,
Yeah.
but you're not going to be making anywhere near what you could be making if you made the tournament enjoyable, and then put things in the right places and did those better. So you're going to get that flop. And you had 80 people, but it wasn't that fun, and then they're not going to come back next year.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's maximizing the amount of money that you can make with the people that are there.
Right.
The more fun that the people are having, the more enjoyment. Sure, alcohol helps with that. But again, like we said, not all tournaments are going to have alcohol. A lot of them do, because golf and alcohol usually go hand in hand. But there's some tournaments that don't. We've played in some that don't have it, and we still had a really good time. I think the most important thing is when you get butts in the seats, is like Vance was saying, you got to make it fun for them. And then they're going to open up their wallets a little bit more to spend that extra money. And then they're going to want to return the next year. So it is so important, if you're going to be running a golf tournament, to just absolutely crush it the first time you do it. And it's very hard if you've never done it before.
Sure. Yeah.
I think one of the things that, real quick, Troy and I always ask, right? So Troy, like Troy said before, he's the idea man between the two of us. I'm more of the business side of it. How to get things from Troy's brain out onto the golf course.
It ain't easy.
So I always ask myself, okay, is whatever the idea is, right? Troy pitches me an idea and I say, is it going to make us any money? Okay, no, it's not going to make us any money. Well, that doesn't mean it's the end of the conversation.
No.
Sure.
Is it going to provide enjoyment to the golfers?
Right.
Yes. Okay. Is that going to outweigh the cost that it's losing us? If it's a good, a good give and take, then that idea might be something that we could do. And that's where we go back to, we don't charge for a lot of things on our golf course and in our tournaments, because, we want the people to have fun. So we may take a little bit of a hit on one side of it to provide this experience for our golfers, but it's going to recoup in the long run. So I always do like a cost benefit analysis of each idea or each prize or each game that Troy and I kind of come up with, to see whether or not it's going to benefit our pocketbook or if it's going to benefit the enjoyment for the golfers. And we have to make that balance.
And the thing that people don't understand is we can add extra things, and then it could cost us $0 to do, because we're working our butt off and finding a sponsor. So let's say we come up with a crazy game with some cool prizes, but it's brought to you by Mr. Pickle's Sandwich Shop or something like that. So it's costing us $0, but now we're giving them something. We're still going to make a little money off the sponsorship, but now we're giving them another event, because a lot of people that play in charity golf tournaments, they're not always like great golfers.
Yeah.
They're out there to have a good time. Tournament, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but in a scramble tournament, everyone hits their tee shot, and then you go to the best tee shot. Everyone picks up their ball and they hits from there. So if you have one good shot every once in a while, still a good time out there.
Still a good time.
Yeah, I actually learned that. It was like maybe 6 years ago. I was asked to, through Character.com, I was asked to help out at the Grant Napier golf tournament out in Lincoln, and learned a little bit. I didn't understand the scramble thing, because like I said, I'm not a golfer at all. Like, what is going on here? I just saw like people moving all throughout the course. Like, I don't understand this golf thing at all, I guess.
But, why did that guy just pick up his ball?
Like, isn't how it works? I could do this. But no, it was interesting, because like so many people there had a great time, and you kind of, when they were driving me to the hole that I was working at, you saw all these cool things that they had set up for each different hole. It'd be so bizarre to see a tournament without, if it was just like a straight golf course. No, I mean, that'd be so bizarre, but I imagine some people think that's all it is.
Some people do that. So we played in a tournament a few weeks ago, and it was like, so there's 18 holes on a golf course, right? And Troy and I like to fill up all 18 holes. You have some sort of prize or some sort of drink or some sort of game, something at each of the holes. Food. We have something at each of the holes, right? So every time you pull up, you're like, oh, what's going to be on this one? Is it going to be Jello shots, or is it going to be, a taco bar? I don't know. So there's something at every single hole. Well, we played in this one a couple weeks ago, and it was like, we went like 4 or 5 holes without anything on it. There was, they put an ice chest out with bottled water, and that was it, and like,
I mean, that's fine to have, but if you sprinkle that in with some other exciting stuff around it, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like, it wasn't like we weren't pulling up to the next hole. Like one of the tables had just t-shirts on it. It's like, okay, but like, to be fair though, it was really, really, really hot that day. So I understand. And that's another thing that we kind of, like a wedding planner, like Vance says, we are so stringent on time of our tournament, day of the week of our tournament, and time of the year. Dates are so important. We look at like, okay, well, the Super Bowl's that week, so the Pro Bowl's this one. Should we do that?
Sure.
People, what would it go? When's Easter? When's this spring break? Are the kids out of school? Are people going to be on vacation? All those things come into play before we even book a golf tournament. Because like a wedding, we would talk to our people. Friday's going to be a little cheaper than Saturday and Sunday. Monday's going to definitely be cheaper, but are we going to get more bodies on those days, or are we just going to eat the extra $1,000 to $2,000, whatever it would be, from those 100 golfers? So it's just, there's so much that go into it. I mean, we could talk your ear off for months about everything that we love to talk about.
Oh no, I have no doubt. It makes me realize why I don't do what you guys are doing. Like this would, my tournament would not be great. But so let me ask you this before we get out of here, because we have a few more minutes before I get you guys out of here, because I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time. You brought this idea of like, what's that?
Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. I try my best. Connectable. My other podcast might be a different story when we have you guys on there. That'll be
perfect.
We'll let loose on that one. It'll be a little different.
All right.
But so as far as like this idea of fun and having fun at every hole, like for each of you guys, I want you guys to both answer this question. What would you say so far has been like the most fun addition to like a hole at a tournament? Like what was like that thing you're like, this is the dopest thing we've ever done? And
well, I'm gonna go first. So
he's got an answer ready.
He's gonna take my answer on my idea.
Yeah, we have the same answer. So
all right.
About 7 years ago, we hooked up with this company called Launching for Charity. For spelled FORE.
Yeah.
And this is hands down. I've gotten to know the owner, Matt Augustine. He's a cool guy. And this is hands down by far the coolest addition to any golf tournament. If you don't want to run one of our golf tournaments, don't want to have us do it for you, call these guys and have them come out, because it just makes everything awesome. So basically what it is, it's an air pressurized cannon that they set up on a tripod on one of the tee boxes. And you launch your golf ball for your drive. So you pay $20. I think it's $60 for the group or $20 per person. And each person gets to go up there and essentially, mount this air cannon. It's got a trigger on it, and they put the golf ball in there. The guy gets you lined up, and you launch this thing, and it shoots the ball over 450 yards.
What?
So it is.
Right.
It just makes you feel like when you grab that cannon and you squeeze the trigger, it just makes you feel like I don't know what it does, man, but it makes you feel great. So it literally, like on a par
That's
5.
awesome.
So what ends up happening is we tell the customers, if they pay for it, then they get the chance to shoot their tee shot from wherever it lands. So now next thing you know, it's a 500-yard par 5, or and they might be close to the green or even on the green. So now they're putting for a double eagle or
a hole in one. Yeah,
a hole in one. Yeah, 2 on a par 5.
That's cool.
So
that's awesome.
That's one of the coolest additions that we've had, and it kills it every year. I've done it. We've done it 7 years in a row. Everybody, like the participation in that hole alone, we have 36 groups. Literally all 36 will participate. It's $60 a group right there. I don't even know what that math is, but that's like $2,000, $1,800. So
like Vance said,
awesome.
It's just those little things that you add to a tournament where they're not even thinking about, okay, well, I'm spending extra money. Obviously it costs a little bit of money to have Launch for Charity out there, but we've been able to luckily get sponsors the last few years to cover that cost. So it's those little things. I would say the coolest thing, one year, I think it was about 4 years ago. So the hardest thing to do is how you're going to maximize the amount of profit you get on something. So we had a weekend stay at a cabin in Tahoe. And so normally we have a really good looking auctioneer at our tournament every year, myself, and obviously.
Yeah.
And then so let's say a weekend cabin stay, we would say maybe $500, let's say. It's for 8, I think it was for 8 people, whatever it was. And that's on the high end. So we're like, how can we make more money on this? So I come up with this crazy idea. I go, hey, Vance, could you make me a treasure chest? He goes, you got it, Troy. So he makes a treasure chest out of this. I don't even know how he did it because that's definitely not on my side of things, but he makes a treasure chest. We
Yeah.
put the weekend stay in there. We put some rum in there. We put some other cool little goodies in there. I think we put a foursome in there. So it was cost about $750. We shut the treasure chest. We put a lock on it. We put 2 pirates out at this hole. These 2 very nice ladies that I worked with. And they're
Okay.
passing out rum shots.
Okay.
So
Cool.
everyone at this hole is getting rum. And so what you can do for $20 or whatever it was, you can buy a combination code to the lock. So we sold 100 locks there. So we made, I
two
think it
thousand
was
dollars.
two
It was two
thousand
thousand.
dollars
Wow.
on the treasure chest for something that cost us maybe $700, and everyone got a free rum shot. So obviously it cost us a little bit to put the rum out there and
Well,
to
we also got the cabin donated for free, so it didn't even cost us that.
Oh
yes.
wow.
So
That's awesome.
it was pure profit except for the rum and some of the Ubers we had to pay for. So, but besides that,
Yeah.
I think that was one of the cooler things just because the 2 people. Volunteers is another thing that are very important. If you do get volunteers that are into it and aren't having a good time and aren't pleasant and making sure everyone's having a good time, that's huge too. And these 2 that we had on there actually dressed up like pirates. I didn't think they
That's
actually
awesome.
were. I just kind of said in jest, and they showed up as pirates and we're talking. I think they played like Pirates of the Caribbean themes and we're passing out shots of rum. So I
That's
think
awesome.
that's one of the most memorable holes I can remember, other than launching for charity, obviously.
Yeah. No, I love that. Those are 2 awesome ideas. And yeah, I agree, man. The volunteer thing, like it's kind of like an understated thing sometimes, but how important those volunteers are. And if a volunteer sucks, like I've gone to some events where the volunteers did, and you could just see on their face like I would rather be anywhere else. It was like it automatically puts you kind of in a bad mood too, because it's like you're around this person, you don't want to be, they don't want to be here. So I can't even imagine that someone would want to volunteer for your guys' event and not have a good attitude. Like it just doesn't seem like it would be like you're not even around those people. It seems like.
Well,
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate over the
Yeah.
years.
and it's one of those things too, as people running the tournament. I mean, Vance and I are having more fun than anybody in the world, right?
Yeah.
So obviously that's going to transfer to the people that are volunteering. They see how giddy we are at 6:30 in the morning. The sun's not even up and we're high-fiving and chest bumping and
Yeah.
all this. We're so excited to be there. I think like it just rubs off on the people that you have out there.
100%. Yeah, you have to set that tone. And again, that's where it kind of goes back to your guys' experience coaching too, right? Like you guys are setting the tone for the entire day, and people feed off of that and they follow your lead. So I think that's awesome. Um, I had a question, but I lost it. Oh, do you guys? I've always wondered this. Do you guys actually play in the tournament? Like, are you guys able to do both?
So we do in our tournament, the CRMFS tournament, we do play.
Okay.
Um, we've got some additional help other than ourselves. Jeannie Rodriguez, Victor Rodriguez,
Yeah.
Bailey, Ruben, Sarah, everybody, all the board members, Kevin and Lisa. So we do have other board members that will help us out. So we do everything up to the time we tee off, and then we go out and play, and then they usually set up the raffle area and the dinner, and then we come back and kind of pick it up from there.
Yeah.
But with our business, we don't play. We're there
That makes sense. Yeah.
strictly to be, we work for them, so whoever the organization is, we're there to make sure it's a good time. So we're not playing. We're there from at 6 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. We're doing whatever we need to do. Making sure all the volunteers get out to the right holes and everything's set up. So we're not playing on those ones, but we do play in our own tournament.
Yeah, at our own tournament, we start at 9 a.m. I'm literally running to the first tee box because I'm making the announcement for everyone. I make sure everyone's out, make sure everyone's registered, and then I run over to the first hole that's why I put myself there. Everyone gets mad at me because I tee off on the first hole, but we run it. We can do whatever we want.
That's how it goes.
So I run over the first hole. We get back. We all the directors kind of talk. We make sure all the volunteers get off the holes. Everything's put away. They have everything written down for me and ready to go for what I'm going to say, and all the auction prize and all the raffle prizes and all that. And we go from there. But like Vance said, when we run a tournament for our clients, we're there to run the tournament. We're not there to play. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a good say in the community to help with that registration process and get some extra golfers for some of these tournaments we run.
Right. Yeah. No, and I should have specified. I was referring more to the Crystal tournament. That would be wild if you guys played in every tournament you guys put on or help put on.
That'd be fun.
Like, yeah, it would be fun. Like, what's the intention behind these guys? They want to do this and play? Yeah, it'd be a weird thing.
Well, we do play in the Casa baseball tournament almost every year with the one that Tupper runs. So that is one that you will see us playing in.
And then are you guys also helping run that one? Or can you
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh,
not
come
yet.
on, Tup.
So, yeah.
We're in Tup's here.
All right. Yeah.
It's one of those things where Tupper's been doing it so long. We'll see. He knows how much hard work it is. I think
I'm surprised that he wouldn't just want to pass it off to you guys. Not saying that he can't do it. I'm just saying, like, I know he has a lot of other interests outside of fundraising.
Yeah.
Well,
So
come on, Tup.
to be honest with you, Tupper's built up a program or a tournament that can run itself, kind of like our Crystal tournament, right? I mean, it's been around for so long. It has that stigma, just like ours does.
Sure.
Hey, every year I'm going to play in it. You said it earlier.
Yeah.
So that once you get to that point, it's not as hard to run the tournament. We're not going to tell everybody that. We're going to keep something a secret. But once you get to that point, it definitely is easier. So, I mean, we could do some things for Tupper, and we're working with him, but I think he's got it to a point now where it's going to have 100 golfers every single year. He's got people that he's worked with. So it makes it easier once you do it several times.
And what's nice with Tupper's too is, I mean, he has people on the board and all that kind of stuff, and you're cycling through different parents.
Sure.
Because they're only going to be there for 4 years, so you have a different new blood each year to help him out with that process. But it's one of those things. It took him a while to get to where his tournament's at now. Mm-hmm. I believe it's got to be his 7th or 8th annual at least.
I think it's 8, yeah. And that brings me to a good point, Troy, what you just said. Josh, I think when we start talking about sports teams, you're going to get that turnover in volunteer help, right? Yeah. So you have a kid that's in the program for 4 years, you're going to get their parents to help out for 4 years, 3 years, whatever it is. And then it's going to be a totally new group of people. You're going to get constant turnover. So doing a tournament with us, we have the blueprint. So all we need to do is plug in the new people and tell them what to do, because we're running everything. We don't have to have, whoever the president of the booster club was last year who ran everything is now gone, and we don't know how to run a tournament anymore. We have that consistency year in and year out because we've already, we have established the tournament. So that was one thing that we bring up in all of our pitch meetings is that, you've got so much turnover and you already do a lot of volunteer work. Let us take some of that off your hands and we'll do it for you and keep it consistent, right? Because maybe you have something that was the most cool thing in the world, right? They had launching for charity out there, and they didn't know the new person that came in is running the tournament, and they didn't know about launching for charity, and they didn't get it back next year. And everyone's like, well, where did that thing go? That was so awesome, So that's part of what we do as well, is that we can keep it consistent and continually year in, year out, see that, production and that revenue for the same tournament.
Yeah, we say it all the time too in all the meetings that we take. We don't want to run your tournament for 1 year. We want to run it for the next 5 to 10 years, because we're going to give you a tournament where we're going to you're not even going to think about it. You're going to be cashing a 4 to 5 figure check every time that we run the tournament for you. So it's one of those things. It should be something that a lot of people look at and are like, wow, that's kind of nice. It takes a little bit off my plate, and I'm still just think how much, anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 can do for, an organization, whether it be a nonprofit, some sort of charity or a sports team.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll say this before we get out of here. and I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I can't overemphasize this enough. Vance, man, you helped us with Character Combine. You provided, we hired you to bring in the lunch and handle that whole thing. We had to do very little because you guys handled so much. And Troy, when it comes to bringing the fun to an event, man, like I said, we've done enough podcasts together. I enjoy your guys' podcast. I always enjoy you're on our podcast. Uh, he's a fun dude. And so, when you put these two guys together, like, it seems like a really good partnership because you have the best of both of those worlds, the business side of it, the fun side of it, the creativity, all that. And so I can vouch for both these guys, even though I don't have a golf tournament myself.
Yeah.
Based on what I've seen and what I've interacted with them, like you want to get connected with these guys for sure. Cause it's going to only be a plus for sure.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And as people know, I would not say it if I didn't mean it. I would just keep my mouth shut. So I mean all those things. If they wanted to get in contact with you guys, if they want to go get a sandwich, just pitch everything, man. You guys have so many things. Troy, your podcast. I should have given you guys more time, but go ahead, pitch it
No,
all, man.
right.
Pitch it all.
So you can go to our website, charitygolfguys.com. And then we also have social platforms, Insta and Facebook, Charity Golf Guys at the Charity Golf Guys. I'm not going to plug Mr. Pickles. I think we'll be all right there. But the Charity Golf Guys, you can find us online and on our social. And then if you're interested in the Crystal Rodriguez Memorial Golf Tournament, we have a website called thecrystalclassic.com. You can go on there, and that's got all the information for the tournament coming up on October 1st.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really need to talk about the podcast, but it's the Spivey Special podcast. At Spivey Special everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I think Farmers Only. I'm not quite sure what other ones we're on now. Just all those, normal social media sites. Charity Golf Guys, check out our website. Our Instagram has been a lot of fun to build over the last few months since our business has been brewing for 11 years, but our social games really taken off in the last 30 days. So we're having an absolute blast. That's giving us a reason to go out into golf just to take pictures so we can post it on there. At least that's what we're telling our wives.
Yeah. I love it. Well, hey man, I appreciate what you guys are doing. Good luck with everything. And man, we'll be in touch soon for sure.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.